Hey folks, welcome to the channel. This is our first video since we had our little rebrand, and we've got Jasper joining us. He wasn't gonna let me do this video in peace, so I just got him in the video. Why not? So, if you've watched some of my previous videos, I was going by the name Painter of Chaos. I am now the Hues of Heresy. Just felt it was a bit of a more wider scope kind of name, brand, I don't know. Anyway, this video is going to be the first of a series of 3 videos where we paint Vashtorr the Arkifane. I have broken his painting videos down into 3 videos to make it a little bit more digestible for everyone, or if you just wanted to look at a specific technique. So our first video is going to be about painting his skin. His second one will be the armor, and the third one will be kind of any miscellaneous things on the model itself. So without further ado, we'll jump into painting the skin. The other 2 videos aren't going to have an intro like this. It's just going to think of it like a continuation of the first video. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we have Vashtorr primed in Chaos Black. I chose to prime this this colour just because there's a few different things we were going to be doing with the armour, and it worked better with that base coat. So first of all, we're going to work on the skin, and this is a 50-50 mix of Slaanesh Grey and Rakarth Flesh. We're going to thin this down a little bit with water. And we're just going to get a nice smooth coat over the muscles and the flesh. Okay, so now that we've finished painting the entire of the fleshy bits with that 50-50 mix, we're now going to take some thinned down Druchii Violet, which has been thinned with Lamia Medium, and we're just going to cover this over the flesh. The reason why we want to thin this down is we don't want to make it too strong of a colour. We don't want that purple to be overpowering, and we can always add more with the thin layers at a later date anyway. So just making sure that we're getting this all in the deepest recesses, but don't worry too much if you do a little bit extra and it's not quite thin enough, because the later steps we'll be going over it with some other colours, and then we relayering with Slaanesh Grey anyway. So now that we've applied that Druchii Violet and it's dried, as you can see, it's not been a particularly thick coat. It's dried and given us this nice little tint of purple. Now we're going to go with Caribou Crimson. Again, we're going to thin it down to kind of almost a glaze consistency. So again, we're just looking to tint the flesh. The reason for this is that we want a little bit more of a damaged flesh kind of effect. And just like what we did with the Druchii Violet, we're going to try and push this into the deepest recesses, really kind of get those muscle striations popping with this Caribou Crimson. But just take your time, work your way around the model. Don't try not to overdo it too much. Again, thin is good. However, we we are going to be relayering, as I mentioned, with the Druchii Violet. So don't worry. To take our time applying nice smooth layers of this shade. Alright, so that Carberg Crimson has given this very kind of distressed flesh kind of look. It's almost kind of gone a bit pinkish in tone. So with this, we're now going to re-layer with Slaanesh Grey. Just to kind of bring some of that greyish with a hint of purple back to the skin. So let's get on with it. Now with this, what I've done is I'm going to use a dry brush, and I'm kind of going to dry brush, but it's almost kind of a bit like stippling as well. Just trying to hit those raised areas of those muscles. We don't want to get anything in the recesses too much, but if you do, again, not a worry, just try and recess shade, so apply that shade directly to those grooves, and that will kind of start to give that effect back. But yeah, we just want to hit that Slaanesh Grey all over the model, and then we'll get that kind of grey skin back. Also, when it comes to dry brushing the face, there's lots of kind of points and angles, so just try and kind of brush against those points and in a direction to really kind of catch that edge. This is where that kind of dry brushing element comes into it, just to kind of get a bit more of that pigmentation off the brush onto that specific area. Now once we've done that Slaanesh Grey, we're left with this really nice grey purple hue to his skin once again. Now on the box art, Vashtorr has these parts of his flesh, so his hands particularly, and kind of attachment points where it's kind of a bit black, probably due to him being some kind of blacksmith. So we're going to take a bit of Black Legion contrast paint, and we're going to thin this down. I think I did about 2 parts water to 1 part contrast paint, just so you got this really nice thin paint, as you can see that I'm putting on. And then you go to about midpoint on the forearm, clean the brush, just use a bit of water, and we're just going to kind of fade it out, blend it out into the skin, and you'll find that when this dries it does a nice smooth blend. And in terms of trying to get that skin darker, we'll just do multiple layers of this kind of wash paint. So up here is where that kind of attachment point is, so just where his kind of tendons meet the metal wings. So we're looking to do that there on his hands, kind of where his flesh meets his mechanical hooves, like knee joint, and kind of a few features around the face as well. But just take your time, like I said, start off nice and thin, build up that saturation. You want it darker near the most distal point, so for here it's where that flesh is really attaching to that wing. For the hand, for example, it's really where that hand's grasping onto the warhammer. That's where you want it darkest. One last thing worth mentioning, currently the footage is showing the Black Legion contrast, but at a later point after I'd done the armour, which is in our next video, I picked up the Dreadful Visage contrast paint, which kind of is like a smoky purple grey, and it kind of works a bit like a wash. It's very, very translucent, very thin. And I basically went over the entire model with that, and you'll see that in the next video. But I thought it's worth mentioning now if you wanted to do it at this point. But that's all the skin for Vashtorr done. That's the end of this video. Join us in the next video where we'll be going over his armour, and I'll be blocking that in.